What up, everybody? This is Rama's Screen. How's it going? It's time for another collabo video. And guess who I'm collabing this time again? It's Jared Buckendahl.
Woo! Rama back on the channel.
Yes. And Jared, the last time we talked, man, it was tough because we had to watch a few terrible Transformers movies.
Yeah, I'm so glad you invited me over to talk about bad movies. I feel like that's what everyone does. They're like, "Hey, Jared, you want to come over and talk about bad movies?" And I was like, "I guess."
I guess.
But no, this time you have something good for us.
That's right. That's right. And of course, this one is an Oscar nominated. Now, here's the thing. I want to mention to you, viewers, your viewers and my viewers, that my favorite Pixar movie of all time is Up. Yeah, Up. More than Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4, more than Cars, more. Up is the best. And this year, 2019, we are celebrating Up's 10th anniversary. The movie officially hit theaters May 29th of 2009, 10 years ago. So I wanna start by sharing with you and the viewers at home that
Yep.
in 2009 I was not in the business yet. I was not part of any film critic society. Not I was not doing press junkets. I was just a fan, and I went to the midnight showing of Up, not really knowing what to expect. I remember going to Comic Con in 2008, seeing the previews for Up and Bolt. And Bolt seemed more appealing, what the presentation.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this hero dog, and this hamster in a ball looks so hilarious. It's like, what is this flying house with balloons? It's so weird.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. It was, I kind of remember that too. It was just bizarre, and I don't know. I guess we were both at the age where, I mean, we were kind of out of, our teens or whatever. So it was that it felt like a movie geared more towards the younger audience.
Yes, and it didn't have, at least from the trailers, all the stuff that you'd expect an animated adventure to have. Like you see Bolt, it's like, oh, that looks like your regular animated family adventure. You see Up, like it has all these formulas and elements that are just so weird.
Oh yeah.
And but I came out of that midnight screening just blown away and fell in love with it. And a little bit tidbit here. Up ended up being Oscar nominated not just for Best Animated Feature, but also for Best Picture. And this is the second animated movie to receive Best Picture nomination since Beauty and the Beast in 1991, I believe. So
Yep.
that's an accomplishment in
Oh
of
yeah.
itself. So let me ask you, Jared. Where or when and what's your experience first time watching Up?
Okay. Okay, quick thing for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Right after you saw it on that midnight,
Yeah.
did it instantly become your favorite, or did you have to think about it?
No, it became my favorite. Like really, I remember just like going through all this wide range of emotions, just watching it. Laughed, cried, felt heartbroken
Oh yeah.
and the story really was not afraid to go through adult stuff like miscarriage. I was just like, wow, this is such a bold, brave animated. I loved it. It didn't take time
Okay,
for me.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for my first time, so I didn't even realize that when you said that it had been 10 years, I was like, I need to get my life together because it's been 10 years since this movie came out. I actually, like back then, I wasn't actually even going to movies really. So I watched this movie, oh man, I think it was, I want to say 2011 or 2012. And it was actually a first date. Not the best first date movie because obviously the beginning, the first five,
Yes.
10 minutes is very emotional. It's heartbreak. But yeah, I caught this well after, and it is, I don't know if it's necessarily my top Pixar movie, but it's definitely in the top three, I would say, because it is, like you said, it ranges in so many different things. There's so many feelings, so many emotions, so many different aspects to this movie that's why it makes it so great.
And thank you for bringing that up because I remember there were memes, maybe during that same year, 2011 that you mentioned, memes like, oh, the first 8 minutes of Up is more romantic than the hour of Twilight or something like that.
Yes. Yep. Oh yeah, I remember those. That was like right when memes became a thing too.
And let's talk about that. But that whole 8 minutes or 8 to 10 minutes, however you want to put it.
Yep.
They got married and they have their jobs, at the zoo, and then she had miscarriage, and then they become their old age. Like, dude, it's I don't know. What do you feel when you saw that the first time? Because when I saw that, I was like, wow, they went through a whole lifetime, in just 8 minutes.
Yep.
And it really, like I said, it messes with your emotions. Like you felt happy for them, you laugh with them, and then you felt really sad for them. I was like, oh man, Pete Doctors really wants to make me cry with this movie.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is like it's so weird because like that 8 minutes could have been the movie. Like
yes,
they could have just extended it out, but that's the thing. They were like, hey, we're gonna set all this stuff up. The later part's going to be the movie. But yeah, I remember watching the first time, like I said, first date, we're laughing, we're all of a sudden crying, and then it's just a very awkward kind of silence because I'm like, holy crap, Pixar had a miscarriage, like it's miscarriage, someone died, if I had to compare it to anything, it would be 2016's La La Land, like the ending. I don't want to spoil anything there, but that is a very close representation of these two.
Yes, thank you for that. That's a great comparison. Now, just a sidetrack before we get to the next bullet points. Earlier this year, in January, I actually had a plan, Jared, to maybe because I don't have a girlfriend. I was gonna hire an actress and recreate the 8 minutes as a video.
Oh man, that would have been awesome, dude. You gotta do that still. That'd be awesome.
I was gonna do that. I was like, man, I can't pay. I don't have enough money. So.
No, but yeah, like you said, what? Obviously, you hit all of those ranges of emotion in that 8 minutes. Did you take anything else? Where you just like, man, it's almost like that was a short story that someone pitched at Pixar, and then they're like, dude, go do your thing.
Yes, that's a good point. And let me add to that or build upon that. In that that those 8 minutes reaffirm or deepens my belief that Pixar makes movies not for kids but for kids in us, because those are adult topics, miscarriage. Yes. and I believe if you remember, Carl Fredricksen, voiced by Ed Asner, he kind of accidentally beats up the guy that was messing with the mailbox, and you see blood on his forehead. I was like, what the? So it reaffirms my belief that Pixar doesn't necessarily try to cater much to kids as it is to the kid in the adults, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't want to get too far into the movie, but yeah, that's that's one of the things I wrote down was this movie. Obviously, it's Pixar. That's kid friendly. It's animated. That's kid friendly. But there's a lot of adult themes to it, like you said. The very few things where the miscarriage, him having that kind of assault against the guy in the blood, the Great Adventure dude. I can't think of his name, but like he was basically murdering everyone that showed up.
Charles Muntz.
Yes, everyone that kind of came upon him. It's assumed that they mysteriously disappeared, but there's a lot of stuff there.
Yes, and for the viewers at home, let's give some of the lead characters. Ed Asner voices Carl Fredricksen. This child actor Jordan Nagai voices Russell, who is probably the first Asian American character in an animated movie, at least the major one. And
that's what I was thinking.
Exactly. And Charles Muntz is voiced by the great Christopher Plummer. Now, Carl Fredricksen, I read that the gruffness personality of Carl Fredricksen is based on Spencer Tracy and Walter Matthau, both rest in peace. And Charles Muntz, his face kind of gets the likeness of Kirk Douglas a little bit. But that's a little bit of a tidbit for you. And then Kevin reminds me of Roadrunner. Kevin is Kevin is the big bird that Charles Muntz goes after. So let's get to that next bullet point. And what do you think about the movie itself as this pairing of the old man and this Boy Scout, Asian American Boy Scout? What do you think? What do you make of that? What do you make of that one? Because it's not your typical pairing, in a.
Yeah, no, like I guess exactly. That's the thing is like it's just not something you would expect, but it does kind of help in this weird way where, he's this curmudgeon old cranky man, and Russell kind of brings him a little bit of his life back to him because he's kind of a shut-in. Ever since his life passed away, he just doesn't want to deal with anything. And then even when Russell first shows up, he's like that scene where he ties him to all of those bed sheets and like lowers him down, and then it's a cut. I was like, that's another dark thing too, but I was like, that is hilarious. He just wants to get rid of this kid.
Yes.
But I don't know. It's just an odd pairing, but it worked so well.
Yes, and the thing is, Russell really, at least the character, the way it's written, man, he's so naive. He's so
Yeah.
good-hearted. It's like, all right, I'll try to find the snipe for you. Like he doesn't have a clue that Carl was just kind of pulling his leg.
Oh yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, when I was a kid, one of my cousins, my older cousins, did that same thing to me. Like, go find the snipe. And I was like, I thought it was a made up thing, and then I saw it in this movie, and I was like, okay, I've been there.
Wait. For reals? Like snipe?
Yes,
That's what is it?
dead serious. They told me it was a little bird, and you had to go out and do stuff, and I was like, holy crap, this is a thing. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. I did not know that that's a thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted as well when they had it in a movie because I thought it was just a small town bullshit type thing.
And of course, you probably know this, but the Paradise Falls is also kind of based on an actual place in Venezuela, the Angel Falls. And I believe that was also the scene from the Point Break remake when they were climbing Angel Falls at the end.
Rom, no one watched that movie. That is the bad comparison.
It's a terrible, terrible remake.
Everyone forgot about it until this very minute.
Now, I want to discuss about some of your favorite scenes in the movie. Let me share with you my favorite scenes as one of them.
Okay, yeah.
When Russell says to Carl, it's like, because by this point we already see Kevin and Kevin and the dog Doug. And
Yeah,
so,
Doug.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly. Russell tells Carl, it's like, "Hey, can we keep him?" And then Carl's like, "No, no, no." And he says like, "But it's a talking dog." That is one of my favorite scenes. What's yours?
Oh yeah. It's revolving around those whole talking dogs. It's the squeaky voice of the alpha at first. He's like, I think you bumped your collar. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just it was so bizarre because he's made up to be this evil, just intimidating person, and then you give him a squeaky voice. It is just hilarious.
And remember when he fixes the voice? Thank you,
Yeah.
master.
Yeah, thank you, master.
And Russell's like, I like the other voice better.
Yeah. I don't know. They just did so many things. Like even going back to where Carl is lowering Russell with those blankets or whatever. Like that is just a quick like throwaway 15-second scene, and I died laughing. Like when I rewatched it this weekend, I was like, it still holds up after 10 years.
And another favorite scene of mine is when when Russell encounters Kevin for the first time with chocolate, and then you see Kevin just like rockabye baby Russell,
Yes,
and Russell's
swinging from the tree, just tossing him around.
and then plays with the legs. I was like, there's so many moments that just crack me up in this movie.
Yeah.
Any other favorite of yours?
I mean, obviously the opening because it's so heartwarming, and again, all of those emotions. I don't know. It just, I mean, there's a lot of funny parts, and we've kind of mentioned the big ones.
Yeah.
I guess maybe a heartwarming one is very much at the end when he's supposed to get his badge. He's all kind of charred and dirty, and then all of a sudden Carl shows up and he's like, "You got your final badge" or whatever. So that was kind of nice because it's mentioned after rewatching this. I guess I didn't realize that Russell's dad had divorced his mom because he had like a mistress or something. Like
Something
I didn't
like that.
catch that until this
Yeah.
rewatch.
Yeah, I read the trivia on IMDb, and yes, so I guess you could say subtly, suggested subtly, not really up in your face, that Russell's parents are divorced.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's the first in any animated movie. I have no idea. But yeah, you are correct. You are correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say if so, I mean they did a lot of kind of firsts in this movie.
That is true. That is true. Remember when Russell tells Carl, like, "Oh, Phyllis, this says this," like, "Oh, you call your mom on first name basis? What's wrong with you?" It's like, "Oh, Phyllis is not my mom."
Yeah,
And I
see,
was,
that's what stuck out at me when I rewatched this. I was like, oh, like that's obviously not a family member. It's someone that's
yeah, that was like awkward. Like
yeah, yeah.
they were like silent for like a few minutes. um, I I think here's the thing for me though. I rewatched it last night to prepare myself for this conversation of ours, and I have my notes in front of me or my notebook and trying to come up with or trying to pinpoint or point out anything that I can criticize the movie for. Negative stuff that I probably when I watched it 10 years ago, I was just like, oh no, on ninth cloud, I just loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all I was in that moment, and so I was like, last night I was like, okay, there's got to be something that I could capture like that's negative about the movie, but I couldn't. I couldn't. Do you have anything that
You got
you thought?
nothing?
Yeah.
Um, I like
It was very well
I mean,
paced.
yeah, very well paced. It's very kind of like it's a lot of different stories with a lot of different themes too, because like just diving into the themes, it's like, having this childhood wonder and then life comes along and you have to kind of push that away. And then also I found this might be a reach, but like Carl's home with all of the balloons are kind of his dreams. And then the
Mm,
guy in the suit is the man and he's trying to keep him down, not being able to experience his dreams. And then he finally is like, I'm done with this and flies off.
yeah.
Bit of a reach, but yeah, there's that. I would say the only thing that's a negative or didn't really work is how is the adventurer dude? He's way older than Carl, but he looks better than him. That's always one thing that I was worried because he's watching him when he's on a kid on TV, but he looks better than him when he's older.
Yeah, they look like Charles Muntz, that's his name, the adventure guy.
Yes, Charles.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he looked like he didn't age that much.
No, he just got a little bit of salt and pepper, and then he's good.
And remember when he showed up on that big screen when Carl was a kid watching him, that was like black and white. And
Yeah,
back in those days when theaters have like reels, before the
yeah.
yeah. It's
That's
like-
why I'm like, is this guy way older, or did he just age very well?
and how did he get himself on so many dogs in,
Yeah,
in South
who
America?
knows? There's so many questions.
There you go. That's a good. So like, did he bring the dogs to South America or did he find the dogs there?
I don't know. I mean, my understanding is he had been there for probably what 50 years then,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. He'd been there a while.
Yeah, and as you know, the dogs can even like fly in airplanes, and
Yeah. See, that's another just ridiculous moment of this movie that I didn't even bat an eye at. I was like, I'm buying into this.
um, part of why I find the adventure aspect of this film very effective, and you probably can agree with me to this, is that it has the formula that every other action adventure also sometimes or often uses, which is it plays with heights, and especially when you have a flying house versus a helium balloon.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so there's moments like, for example, Russell's like hanging dear life on a freaking like hose. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, he's about to fall. And then at one point he's like, he has these balloons, and then he's just like with a vacuum cleaner or something like that. He flies to the helium. I was like, what?
Yeah, he has I think it's a leaf blower, and he's like,
Leaf blower.
I'm gonna go catch or go get rescue Kevin or Doug, one of the two.
So I don't know about you, but I kind of have a little fear of heights.
Oh,
Um,
I do too.
oh, I'm not to the point where I couldn't go up to high level. Literally, I can climb mountains, okay, but looking down from there, my palms would sweat. So there are moments when I would watch this movie or rewatch it again last night, where I was like, "Oh my god, I feel so scared for Carl and freaking Russell." Remember when Carl was getting chased by Charles Muntz? Up on that hill, what's the name? The helium balloon. I keep calling it helium balloon. Charles Muntz ship.
Oh, like a blimp.
Blimp. There you go. I'm sorry, blimp.
Yeah.
So Charles was chasing Carl they were like on this ladder, and then at one point the ladder goes vertical. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah.
And so
That's the
Carl's feet was dangling. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, that's the thing is like it's an animated movie, but they played so well at kind of framing the stuff that, like you said, you're sweating a little bit, you're nervous for these characters.
Man, did you have the same reaction?
I mean, after rewatching it today, I don't know exactly because, like I said, I was kind of paying attention to my notes. But
That's
yeah,
fine.
like it's 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 a weird movie because yeah, there's very good adventure aspects to it, but it's also this heartwarming kind of emotional love story at the beginning. It transitions into kind of few different things, you know.
Now let me ask you this, and by all means, Jared, if you want to bring up some notes on your from your notes, feel free. But let me ask you this before we get to your notes. Childhood hero that we idolize, and they turn out to be not what we expect.
Well, Kevin Spacey. Sorry, sorry.
I was gonna ask, do you have an example? Kevin Spacey?
No, he is not my hero. But no, I actually wrote that same thing down. I said there's like this weird lesson in here that,
Yeah, let me hear it.
or I wouldn't say lesson, but it's like don't meet your heroes almost because
Okay.
they're not going to be what you think they are.
Hmm.
In real life, I don't think I've had anyone like that.
Hmm.
Not that I can really think of. Have you? I mean, you're kind of in the thick of it. You see a lot more famous people than I do. Is there anyone that you've run into that's kind of been like, oh, I thought they were. I built
Yeah.
them up in my mind more than what they were.
No, that's a good question. I want to say Julia Roberts is one of them. I don't know if she was just having a bad day, but she was kind of rude to me. So I was like, "Oh, I liked you in Aaron Brockovich." So that's one example. I guess for those that I never met, you can probably throw in not necessarily Kevin Spacey, but maybe I don't know. I always admired Felicity Huffman, for example, and then to know what she did recently, I was like, oh, that just broke my heart. But like you
Yeah.
said, like you put your heroes on pedestal, and you're gonna get disappointed. You
Oh
will.
yeah, yeah, and that I mean that ties into with just there's a lot of messages in here that just it's surprising that they were able to inject all of this into again a children's movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have Do you have a Carl Fredrickson or a Russell in your family or circle of friends?
Um,
Somebody like them?
I can't off the top of my head I can't think so, but I think my honestly I feel like my grandpa was kind of like Carl, just
Okay.
kind of quiet a lot and just you know, but I wouldn't say like necessarily he didn't have a house of balloons or anything, you know.
I I have some relatives, old ones, senior citizens, who are kind of like Carl,
Yeah.
in that they, they what do you call that? Grunt. They grunt.
Uh, uh,
Like, you don't know nothing. Like
yeah,
that.
you kids.
Kids. So to that extent that they're like Carl, but they're not, they're not as imaginative as trying to fly a house with the balloons on it.
Yeah, yeah. No, they kind of I'm assuming they kind of took like the outline of the stereotypical old person and then just went from there when they were making his character.
What else you want to bring up, brother?
Um, I mean, I'm trying to look here. Yeah, don't meet your heroes. Um, just some darker stuff. I mean, kind of at the beginning, it was this weird thing where opposites attract because like at the wedding, you know, her whole family, even herself, she's very out there, you know, she's very
Yes.
extroverted, I guess, and then his whole family's introverted, and it was this weird thing where they say opposites attract, and yeah,
No, no. Well, that's thank you. Let's talk about that. I think what attracts Ellie to Carl and vice versa is their shared passion for adventure.
yes,
They have different personalities. You are correct. I think Ellie is extroverted. Ellie talked a lot, of course. Compared to Carl, and I think in their wedding, right? Even Ellie is the one that kind of hugs Carl in a
yep.
bride kind of way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's like the one that like pulls him in for the kiss. And then when it shows the families or whatever, her family's like, "Woo!" And then his family's like,
Exactly. So I think to me, and I'm not in a relationship right now. I always believe that the more you share things in common, the better.
Hmm.
And I think for them, that is where they find their likeness. That they dream of like, oh
Yes.
my God, let's go here. Because a lot of couples out there after they settle down, they stop dreaming. They're like, oh, let's just because they gotta go day by day, monthly, paying bills, and that's all. That's it. No dreaming of paradise falls or no
Yep.
big aspirations anymore because they've settled down. But Ellie and Carl never give up on that even after.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, like you kind of had said, they do almost fall into that rut at one point because they're I don't know what part of the story it is, but they look and they finally find their jar that's been sitting on the shelf, and they're like, "We need to go. We need to do this." Because like they had been saving money, and then all of a sudden a flat tire or a broken leg or something, and it kept going and going and going, and then exactly what you just said, they fall into a
A routine.
schedule or a
Yeah.
routine basically. But then they found out, they're like, why did we do this in the first place? Let's go on this adventure. And then unfortunately she passes away.
Yeah.
So
So that's a lesson for all of you viewers, on when you're trying to find somebody on Tinder.
or Grinder,
Go
either or.
grinder. Find somebody who's shared interest with you because that's the important thing.
And go on an adventure early because you're going to fall into a routine. You're going to be boring.
Yes.
Don't do it.
You're going to end up like Jared and I. You don't want to do that. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
awesome YouTubers. Like, share, subscribe.
Now, um, I I love that at the end, that epiphany that Carl gets when he's looking at the album and he comes across this note by Ellie, thanks for the adventure. Now go have a new one. I'm like,
Yep.
wow, that says a lot about Ellie, even though Ellie only shows up in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Um,
She's almost this like looming presence that's throughout it because even Carl talks to the home at one point and calls her Ellie or
yeah,
calls it Ellie.
exactly, exactly. I know that overall it's easy to see that the lesson, of course, Carl has difficulties letting go, right? Letting go of
Yes.
the Ellie and letting go of the house. Like, but you are correct that Ellie is kind of like this thing that's like tries to guide Carl, even though it seems that Carl is the one that's taking Ellie. So I think that in a way it's also profound, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's this weird thing where she's trying to make him or push him into moving on with his life, but also him holding on to her is causing him not to be able to do that.
Yes.
It's this weird kind of roundabout thing, but again, when he finally sees that, hey, thanks for the adventure, go have your own, I think that finally something clicks that he's like, that part or that chapter of my life was great, but I need to kind of make a new chapter.
And on that note, along with that, the idea that Russell comes in and Carl becomes this unlikely father figure to him because Carl and Ellie had miscarriage, and then there's this kid. Obviously Russell's not their kid, but it's like like the universe gives Carl a chance. Like, hey, you know, here's your chance to be the dad to this kid whose dad is absent from his life.
Yes,
So that's also another thing that I think is the brilliance of the writers of this movie, that they actually thought this through, all these little nooks and crannies and details, that we get to talk about it right now.
absolutely. Yeah. Because I guess just thinking about it right now, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, they each were missing something. They came together and they gave each other what they were missing because, yeah, they're just kind of hanging out, eating ice cream at the end. And yeah, it's very much this weird father son dynamic,
Yeah.
but it worked so well.
Now, side note, I went to visit Pixar Studios a few years ago. I didn't come invited. I just show up as a fan.
You kick the door down, and be like,
Yes.
I'm Rama Screen. Give me an interview.
Let me in. Let me in.
Let me see Toy Story 4. I know you're working on it.
and uh, and I went to the Fenton Ice Cream place that
Uh,
that spot was based on. I have the photo somewhere on Facebook. I'll try to include it here. But man, yeah, it's famous now for being the Up ice cream place. Everybody goes there to try to sit on the sidewalk, try to.
Pictures and everything. Photoshops a giant blimp up top.
Yes. And then play that game, red, blue, yellow. Now, what's that?
So that's cool.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I got fat from the ice cream, but thank you. Uh, Also, to juxtapose Carl and Charles Muntz, the adventure guy, Carl lost his wife, right? And of course, he has this difficulty letting go. And Charles lost his reputation. And all these years he tries to I'm gonna prove them wrong, just like, oh, I'm gonna take my house to the falls. So I think in a way, and I'm maybe stretching a little bit, I think Charles Muntz is what Carl could have been also if he had been, consumed by his obsession to the level of villainy. Because Carl eventually ultimately lets go, but Charles Muntz never lets go. What do you think about that theory?
Oh yeah, right when you just spelled it out right there, I was like 100%. But there's I don't know what part of the movie or what part of the story, but yes, Carl does give up or give out. Doesn't. There's a path, and he's like, I'm gonna go and kind of be the nice guy and save Russell and do good, rather than he could have easily turned into Charles,
Yeah.
Because okay, at the very end, I don't remember. Does Charles not make it?
Charles did not make it. Yeah.
Okay.
Charles fell to his death.
Yes, that's what it is. Okay, I forgot if he plane crashed or fell, but okay, yeah. Yeah, he Carl could have easily turned into that.
Yes, yes. Do you have a dog, Jared?
Nope, I've never had a pet.
Oh, me neither. Me neither. So I can't.
Yeah,
really...
see, there we go.
let alone a talking dog. So no,
one day.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of talking animal movies. Or there's a lot of talking dog, like A Dog's Journey, A Dog's Purpose. Never really a big fan of theirs. So, but the way they did the talking dog for Doug is so unique. With the collar thing, it's not like Doug is actually talking to them.
Yeah, it's like he's thinking it almost.
I know, and that's another reason. It's like, wow, this movie's take on talking animals is so unique. I'm like, another reason for me to love it. But yeah, I can't really connect on that because I never had a pet or a dog.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing is I have a problem sometimes with movies. I'm trying to think. There was one recently that it involved a pet. It wasn't John Wick. I know if someone's murdering my dog, I'm gonna go after him. But there was some movie, I don't know. I just didn't connect because I'd never had that relationship. But see, that's why Pixar is so good. They take unique ideas because someone probably was in the writer's room or animation. They're like, we can make Doug's mouth move. No, don't do that. Just put a collar on and we'll put some random voice in. And it works.
I love it. I love it. I want to talk a bit about the music by composer Michael Giacchino. Oh my God. Oh
yeah.
Oh man.
So good.
I like this one better than his music for Incredibles movies, to be honest with you. Even though that music is also pretty awesome. This one is just
song.
Yeah, this one is just stuck in your head. And it keeps playing that theme. And sometimes when it gets scary in the adventure part, it has a version of that theme, but with more bravado in it. And I was just like, but it's still ringing in the back of your head because of that. Oh, and he won an Oscar, deservingly so. It's one of the best scores ever, in my opinion. So what are your thoughts on that?
The thing is, I'm not really a big music person. I guess when I'm watching a movie, I just get sucked in so much that it's just in the background. But if you were when you were just humming it right now, boom, I thought of the opening instantly. It's that I think that's what's almost good about some of that music is just you don't notice it, but then when you hear it, you instantly know what that is.
Yes.
And again, he won an award for it. Wait, did he win?
Yeah, he won an Oscar for it.
Yeah, he won. So it's obviously it's damn good music.
Now, Pixar has come up with Cars 2 and 3, Toy Story 2, 3, 4. What else? Monsters University.
Yeah.
And I hope to God they never come up with a sequel to Up.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think that they came out recently and they said that after Toy Story 4 that they weren't going to try to push sequels anymore, which I think is a great idea
Really?
because
I didn't hear.
that's what
Okay,
I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. Maybe
that's fine. That's fine.
new scoop exclusive on Rama screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they do a sequel, I don't want to see that because it's a very good individual story contained. And if they do a prequel, it will kill the original because you don't want to see that 8 minutes play out. That 8 minutes is perfect the way it is.
Yes, yes. I think, yeah, as I rewatched it last night, trying to come up with criticism about it, I also thought, like, this is just perfect. You can't get any more perfect than what this is. Like we talked about, they thought out every little detail about the juxtaposition of the characters and what the dilemmas of each characters. They really thought it out. Like that's why we can discuss it right now because it's so detailed, definitely.
And I guess I didn't. I mean, I knew that it was a good movie. It's one of my favorites, and I just didn't know how it did critically because obviously I wasn't in this realm. You weren't in this realm, so I went and I read some reviews kind of from back, and I'm like, yeah, everyone's praising this movie. You know, there's one or two here or there that's like I'm gonna find a stick in the mud and not give Pixar praise, but a lot of people really enjoyed this movie.
All right, let me ask you, Jared. What if you're willing to share? What is your Paradise Falls? What's your big adventure on your bucket list? The top of your bucket list.
I don't know if is it a destination or I mean, a destination could be where I go, where I end up in life. I mean,
whatever it is.
I mean, like I've mentioned a few times, like somehow, like honestly, being on SNL would be my Paradise Falls. Like being on that would be awesome. Like writing for it, being on there, I don't know, something like that.
All right. Hold on. Let me call Lord Michaels here.
Yeah.
Hey,
you got him on speed dial. Hey, what about you, Rama? What is your Paradise Falls?
Oh, before sharing it as well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say because you've already been to the Playboy Mansion. Like, I don't know where else you go from there.
Now I just gotta spend time with the Playboy bunnies. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
They were out. They were out that weekend.
They're out that weekend. Now, just before I share with you my Paradise Falls, I just want to say I think that is a fantastic dream adventure that you guys, man, I mean, that you have, and hopefully you can realize it, brother, because you have the potential.
I want
really
something in that realm, but thank you for
Yes.
at least noticing the ridiculousness that I do is a little bit funny.
And then we do still have that deal, right? The first time you do a stand-up comic, that I'm gonna be there to see it in person.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Don't worry, I'll fly myself. Don't worry about the accommodation tickets.
I'll get you an Airbnb.
When I used to run marathons in my 20s, this was on the top of my this was my Paradise Falls. I wanted to run the Great Wall of China marathon because they had so you run 26.2 miles along the Great Wall. Now that I'm fat and got beer keg belly, I may have to come up with another Paradise Falls, but definitely I want to travel again. I don't know where, I don't know exactly the destination, but I definitely want to travel again. That's definitely my adventure. I rewatched the movie last night, and I'm like, man, I can connect to that desire to see the world again, a whole new world.
Yes. Now, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know where you've traveled to and whatnot. Where's like your top spot that you haven't been that you would love to travel to?
I've been to Europe, but I've never been to Spain. So I missed out on Spain when I went to Europe. I only went to England, Paris, and Amsterdam. Spain, because one of my Paradise Falls is also to run the running with the bulls.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yes.
Oh, you crazy, man. You crazy.
And live to tell the story.
Well, that's the thing. That would be a fantastic story.
What if I don't survive though? That would
be a fantastic story.
You want to join in, Jared?
Honestly, yes. Honestly, traveling is another thing that I would love to do because
No,
I've only been
running with the
to,
bulls. Running with the bulls.
yeah, running with the
All
bulls,
right.
traveling, all of that, man. Hell yeah. If you're going to running with the bulls, I'll be there. I might be on the sidelines videotaping, but I'll be there.
I'm sorry, I cut you there. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say traveling and seeing the world and doing all that stuff, man. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes the time, the money, just stuff
Yeah.
like that just doesn't pan out.
And also, I mentioned this to my friend. I don't mean to bring the house down right now, but it'd be nice to, unlike the traveling that I did in my 20s, it'd be nice to actually travel with an Ellie. I gotta find my Ellie. That'd be nice. Sorry to bring the mood down here.
Wah, wah.
So
I
cheesy.
think
I get it.
Rama, no, it's not cheesy. I think everyone deep down, they might not say it, but everyone agrees.
Yeah, because I was watching the movie again last night, and I was so jealous of Carl. I envy him. He didn't have to do much. He found Ellie when he was a kid without having to give any effort.
Oh no,
Man.
it literally just stumbled upon it.
Yeah.
But then again, that's what happened in the 40s, You saw someone a block away, and you're like, well, there's nothing over 2 blocks away, so...
Yeah, you didn't see Carl going through eHarmony or Match.com.
Yeah, no, he wasn't swiping, super liking,
He just found
sending
out.
dick pics. He wasn't doing any of that.
How easy was that? Damn you, Carl! Damn you!
Man, that escalated quickly.
So, man, sorry, you guys. Okay, so now before we end, I want to ask you, and I'll share mine as well. What is it about the story of Up and the themes, that you think that the movie has lasted this long, 10 years, and will last 10 more years to come? What makes it special? How do you connect with it personally, on a personal level?
I mean, straight up from that opening is just, it's like this story of love and finding essentially your soulmate and going on all of these adventures and just going through life and enjoying it like that. I don't think that 8-minute story is ever going to get old because everyone is going to, like you said, finding your Ellie. I think everyone out there, I mean, unless you just hate people, I guess. I mean, everyone wants to find that person and to live a happy life and just enjoy it, I guess. And I mean, 10 years, and it's still exactly like when you said it was 10 years, I was like, it can't be 10 years. It's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years, my friend. It's been 10 years. Time flies. And also, I'm sorry, you want to say some more?
No, I mean, that's about it. There's a few other things, but that's probably the main takeaway for myself.
Yeah, and also, and you can chime in on this too. And sometimes I have trouble putting things down in words. But when I rewatch the movie again, it's like trying to find balance between, or maybe having the wisdom to discern what parts of your life that you need to let go, and what parts of your life that you need to pursue. Because you said earlier, hey, sometimes you got to move on to the next chapter.
Yep.
That goes with letting go, but that doesn't mean that you have to give up your paradise falls, whatever that is in your life, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having the wisdom to also decide, in your life, what you don't need anymore and what you need to focus on, or maybe recognizing the blessing in front of you, which is this kid Russell. And so I think that is also a lesson that could be taken away, don't you think?
Oh, that was a way better answer than myself. No, it's so true, though. Yeah. It's just, sometimes in life you're just trying to do too much, and it's like, which ones are good, which ones are bad, what do I need to get rid of? It might be tough at first, but, you got to do it. Like, chapter 1 leads to chapter 2, and again, like, that thing, it's like, his Paradise Falls was always there, but in the end, it kind of changed. It was like his Paradise Falls is to, I guess, essentially kind of just, I don't know, be a better person or enjoy life for himself. And he befriends Russell, and I mean, they're eating ice cream together. So I think that he's actually finally happy. Before, he was just coming out, getting the mail, going inside. That was about it.
Yes. Oh man. And of course finding your Ellie. Gotta find your Ellie.
Yes. And then unfortunately she'll die.
No.
Uh,
I still want to recreate that 8 minutes. So hopefully I can make that
you got
happen.
it. Now that you said it live, you got it.
I have till December, the end of this 10th year anniversary to make it
Yeah,
happen.
there you go. See?
Anything else you want to add, brother, before we end this discussion? And thank you so much for your time, by the way. Wow,
Yeah,
I
no,
know you're
thank you
busy.
for inviting me over, man. I actually got to go see Booksmart after this, so like this worked out perfectly. But no, I don't know, just up. It stood 10 years. It, like you said, it's gonna stand another 10 years. People, it's not gonna not become relevant because just from that opening 8 minutes or whatever, people still refer to it, and if they don't, they'll make a meme about it.
All right, and plug your channel, your Twitter.
Are you crying, Rama? Why are you
I'm
crying?
crying.
I know this is a very emotional conversation, but come on, hold it together.
I'm like, Ellie, where's my Ellie? Where are you, Ellie?
You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Jared Buckendahl. I'm just, I'm throwing out movie reviews, trailer reactions, fun comedy skits. I'm still writing this month's comedy sketch, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully, it's a good one.
And to you guys, the viewers at home, Jared is one of the funniest people on the planet. Not just in America, but on the planet. All right.
Oh, that's bold. That's bold, Rama, but thank you.
I always retweet your stuff, brother, and I love it. So keep doing what you do. And Lorne Michaels, hire this guy, brother. Hire this guy.
Send this video to him.
All right. Thank you so much for this discussion of the 10th year anniversary of Pixar's Up. Till then, let's rock this.